All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode number 2 of Claret News. I'm Justin, and I'm joined by my friend Matt. Matt, what's up, man?
Not much, man. You?
Nothing much. I'm glad that we get to watch some more soccer
Right,
tomorrow.
right. Little bonus, little bit of a turnaround. That's
Yeah,
always nice. Don't have to wait all the way up to the weekend. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. It's for us next week, technically. Um,
Right.
and the reason why I'm excited is obviously full of confidence after that victory, and let's just get right into it. So I don't have. Should have probably gotten the articles up on my screen by now before clicking go live. So yeah, let's just talk about the match.
Okay, great place to start.
Obviously, let's just give an overall synopsis of it.
Okay.
Obviously, West Ham comes out on top. I got
Yeah.
the article now. I'm going to
hmm
share the screen. West Ham comes out on top after not winning for 7 or 8 matches, I believe it was.
Yeah, I think it's the one in 8.
Yeah. And a lot of those were losses. I think only one of them was a draw.
Right.
And come out of nowhere, get the victory against a good Chelsea side at Stamford Bridge, which hadn't happened in quite a while, 17 years, I believe. What were your thoughts on the match?
I mean, I didn't see it coming. I think that anyone that did, should might be fibbing there. I really thought. I think we talked a bit about this last week about how he had to make some changes. How this is a game we weren't supposed to win. Nobody thought we were going to get anything out of this. Like you said, they're playing well, and we thought, this is a game we can make changes in. He's made change and without any repercussions really. If we'd have got thumped 3 or 4-0, he made changes and it worked. So I think all credit to him. To be fair, I think last week there were lots of people, slating Pellegrini, saying that we're in crisis, and he's done I think he's done a good job. I think the title there of that Guardian article about West Ham, David Martin's West Ham Ferris household Pellegrini for now is about accurate. I mean, this is just it's just one result out of like I said, the last 7 or 8 where we've been poor. I mean, if you go down, I think that's that third paragraph. It says, better late than never. West Ham who were in utter shambles while Roberto was filling in for the injured Lucas Fabianski. The 33-year-old Spaniard wrecked the back four's confidence, made countless errors, and never came close to demonstrating why Mario Husillos, the club's director of football, targeted him last summer, nor why Pellegrini agreed to the deal so enthusiastically. So I think that had clearly been a major issue. It was a change that needed to happen. I think, I said last week, I didn't think that was a change that he would make. I thought he would stick with Roberto and he might tinker with, the outfield and the other 10 players. But, I mean, the changes, to be fair, now look inspired, don't they?
Yeah, let's talk about those changes. So since we're on the keeper, we'll stick with him. Yeah. It was obviously a change that needed to happen. You probably did it a match too late, in my opinion.
Right.
I do want to make a comment though on this paragraph that you've drawn attention to. Yeah. Obviously, there were issues with Roberto's play. I'm not denying that. Yeah. Did he make the team worse? Absolutely. Yeah. Could we maybe grinded out a result or two without him in there and David Martin in? Potentially an extra point or two.
Right.
In my opinion, it isn't just Roberto. He's the easy scapegoat because keepers' mistakes are always magnified.
Yeah.
But I think, like we were talking about it a little bit before we started recording, there's another article where Declan Rice mentions that it's typical West Ham to play so poorly and then turn up for a big match and get a result like this. Yeah. And I agree with him. And my point in all this is that this one result, as good as it was, and as deserved as it was, to be fair, I'm not so sure that just because Roberto's out of the team we're going to go back to the way we were playing the first 4 or 5 matches. I'm not so sure that he is simply the sole reason why we were in shambles.
He's not the sole reason. And again, it's like you said, all goalkeeper mistakes are magnified, and the outfield players can make mistake after mistake, and they're just having a bad game. A goalkeeper makes one mistake or one mistake, and he's had a nightmare. So that's a fair point. I think the comment, though, about him wrecking the back four's confidence is an interesting one. In that same article, if you scroll down, there's a picture of Pellegrini and Lampard, and there are 2 paragraphs underneath that I think are worth reading. It's not that first paragraph there, it's the next 2. It says, now with the talk within West Ham is about a fairy tale, though the oddity is that Martin did not have to make too many outstanding saves against the subdued Chelsea attack. What he really did well was the unfashionable stuff, coming for crosses, kicking properly, and communicating with teammates, who grew in confidence as the game wore on. Calmness fell over West Ham's defence. Ryan Fredericks made superb last-ditch tackles to deny Mason Mount and Christian Pulisic. Angelo Ogbonna and Fabian Balbuena pinned down Olivier Giroud, who toiled up front in the absence of Tammy Abraham. Aaron Cresswell smothered Pedro and broke forward from left-back early in the second half to score the winner. I think all those points are fair. I thought our back four were good. I think Chelsea definitely had their chances and should have taken some. I think Pulisic had 2 really, really decent chances.
Yeah, I remember his last one.
Well.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, the back four again looks solid. Now, whether that's because the back four is chopped and changed week in, week out, and maybe this is a settled back four, which is another discussion. But it's definitely one of those things. If you're playing at the back, you want a goalkeeper who's vocal, you want a goalkeeper who's telling you what to do things, and you want a goalkeeper who you're not going to have to cover for because he drops a cross or because he flaps at things. So I do take your point that you can't blame. You certainly can't blame Roberto for Anderson's dropping form. You can't blame Roberto for the fact that Allaire doesn't get any service. You can't blame Roberto for the fact that Rice sometimes has looked a little bit out of sorts. But I think that those 2 paragraphs make a good point. Martin just did the basics. Yeah, he's not a Premier League goalkeeper. We all know that. Yeah, he's not an excellent shot stopper. Because he really didn't have too much to do. To be honest,
right.
He just did.
And he did have some nervy saves as well.
He did, yeah, 1 or 2 juggles, 1 or 2 spills, which is to be expected. I think there's an article on the BBC that says, where he admits that he couldn't eat for 2 days beforehand. He struggled to eat 2 pieces of toast. He was so nervous before the game. What with all the pressure of A, being a third choice goalkeeper, and B, the family history that the name Martin that comes with West Ham.
Right.
But yeah, I just think he just might have bought that little bit of just, okay, calm down. Let's just try and do the basics, and he did the basics well enough to get us the result. So
yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I do think that it's obviously an improvement over Roberto. There was just zero confidence in his play and the team's play around him. Yeah. It's just interesting. I think it'll be a really, really good test for us tomorrow. What about some of the other changes? There were a couple that come to mind. One was placing Anderson, Anderson in that number 10 role.
Yeah.
Moving him from his usual left wing position in.
Yeah.
And then the move that I thought really required the biggest balls was to put Antonio up top and actually sub out Allaire. Yeah. It's a move that I definitely raised my eyebrows. I liked the Anderson move. Let's actually start with that one, the Anderson. I liked the move before the match. I still think there's something missing to his game. He still doesn't really offer a whole lot. You don't have the utmost confidence when he has the ball. He still is struggling to make that final pass to break down the defense. Still missing it.
He is, and I wonder if it isn't again. He's not quite the same player we saw last season or the start of this season, and maybe again it's another confidence issue. I think the team aren't playing well. He's not playing well, and I would imagine that a professional footballer or any even if you're playing, rec league soccer or pick up basketball, if you're not playing well, right?
Yeah.
If you're having a bad game, that must be at the back of his head.
Right. Absolutely.
So I don't know whether again it's that dip in form has knocked his confidence. Apparently, he wasn't overly excited to be bought off.
Yeah. Which I actually enjoyed seeing from him because
me too.
I've always thought of Anderson as being, I don't want to say he doesn't play with passion, but he certainly doesn't show it. I think he's a pretty stoic guy. I'm not saying I'm not saying he has never showed emotion, but I don't know. Even from last year, I've always said to myself, I wish he showed a little more emotion. That's his personality, okay. But in my opinion, I actually enjoy seeing players get a little pissed off that they're taken out. That means that they want to play. That means that they're competitive, and that means that they actually give a shit. And there have been times where I don't want to question Anderson's passion for the game, but there have been times where I've questioned his desire to perform for West Ham.
I think you remember when he first came and their first kind of 5 or 6 games he played, he didn't track back. Once he'd lost the ball, we were kind of like, oh well, shrug, that's my bit done. And then that side of his game developed. He became a little bit more defensive. He became willing to do a bit more work when we didn't have possession. So he's had to adjust his game there. Whatever it is, him being annoyed at being bought off, I think either if that's personal pride and he's upset, or he's embarrassed, or whatever it is, I think maybe that's just maybe the kick up the arse he needs. You don't want to destroy his confidence. Of course not. He's one of our most expensive players, one of our most creative players going forwards. And despite the fact he's not in form, I still feel whenever he's got the ball and he's making a run towards goal, that he can do something.
He definitely has the capability to do something, which makes it all the more frustrating.
Right. So I think bringing him in more central, it did work. I thought that him and Snodgrass, I thought Fornells had a really good game, to be honest. For someone again, kind of thrown in there, some of his play.
He certainly gave 110%. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's probably the thing. I think do you know what that comment you made or that we brought up earlier about that Declan Rice, what Noble said before the tunnel. It was on TalkSport.
I'm going to get that article up now.
See if you can pull that up there, because I thought that's a really interesting one where getting up for the game and giving that effort. I think that's probably what's been lacking. I think most West Ham fans will admit that they don't expect to win every week. They don't really expect to go out and perform and beat the big boys left, right, and centre. But they do expect a little bit of effort. And I thought that that article there on TalkSport now, it says, you scroll down just to above that picture of Rice and Martin. It says there, if anyone can't read it, it says, this is Rice, a quote from Rice. It says, you know what? Nobes got us together before the game and with a couple of swear words in there, told us that we had to be up for this one. It's the London derby. We hadn't won in 8, and if we'd have lost, we would have been bang in trouble, and we knew it. We worked on our game plan and frustrated Chelsea, and even though it was 1-0, I thought it could have been much more. We thoroughly deserved the win. It's typical West Ham in a way. Don't win in 8 and then produce a performance like that. It shows we've still got the grit, the desire, and the determination to go out there and put in a performance. And those words there, the grit, desire, and determination. That's what people are actually looking for. That's what people, that's what people want to see. So I think maybe that's rubbing off a bit on Fornells. And if Nobes is in there leading the team, telling them, "Come on, lads, we've got to get into them today, and we've got to perform well." Then let's have more of that. Just a bit, because we've got the talent. There's no doubt. We've got a much more talented squad than you look at. We've got Wolves coming up. We've got a much better squad than they have. Much better squad, much better starting 11. But without that desire and that determination, it doesn't mean much. So maybe this is a bit of I don't want to say it's a turning point, but maybe we can kick on from this. Let's hope so.
Well, I think that you hit the nail on the head. Maybe we can kick on from this, and we need to in order for this game to mean anything for me. Yeah. We have 5 games coming up in this month. If we go and lose 4 and get a draw on 1, we're right back where we started, right? Even in a worse position. So And the schedule isn't all that easy this month.
Not,
It's really not. So again, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but I'm just playing devil's advocate, and I'm saying, listen, it was a great 3 points, a surprising 3 points. I don't think anyone saw that coming, but again,
no.
if it doesn't lead to anything, if it doesn't lead to anything else, it's for naught.
It is. I think the thing is as well, it's that we have to be really careful as well about the old being doom and gloom merchants here. That win, has lifted us up to 13th with 16 points. Now the thing is, we're on 16 points. Wolves, who we've got coming up, have got 19 points, and they're 6th.
No, they have Wolves have 20.
Okay, if that's the case, 20 points. Okay, or maybe I'm looking at a table that's not been updated here. But you know what I mean? It's such a, that's such, okay, that's 4 points, and all of a sudden, you rocket back up into a European place.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes it's one of those things about trying to keep perspective, but it's difficult to keep perspective if, when things are going wrong. I think you made a good point there about that Wolves game. At the bottom of that TalkSport article, there's another quote from Rice, and the last paragraph says, this is Rice again, he says, the focus has got to turn to Wolves now. There's no point in putting in a performance like that and then going to Wolves and getting turned over, because then we're back in at the deep end.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I think it's less about being back in the deep end as to a relegation battle, or back in the deep end as to your position in the table, because it's tight, right? It's tight. It's about I think he's talking about being in the deep end mentally, and being in the deep end where, we go back to, we're in a bad run again. The team have got to start generating some belief about themselves. If we're going to get on. I mean, you said the schedule is rough. It's not easy. Wolves, not easy. Arsenal, all over the place, though. Do you know what I mean? That I really think that could go either way. Southampton after that, it's funny. And last week we were saying we'll get nothing out of Chelsea. We'll struggle against Wolves. We'll get. That was a conversation we had last week. This week, one win is like, well, maybe we can get something. Maybe we can get something. I don't know. It's down.
It's the world of sport, man.
It's fickle, and it's a fickle game.
It's so fickle, and that's why I'm trying to keep things in perspective, because a European quality side will go to Wolves next week after having a shitty 2 months, coming off a win that gives you the utmost amount of confidence. Will go into Wolves, a team that they're battling for 6th and 7th with, and they will get a result. They might not, but they will grind out a result, especially against the Wolves team that is, has played a lot more games than us with Europe. They have a pretty small squad. They don't change the squad all that much.
Right.
I would have loved to play Wolves like a few weeks later in the busier fixture period. But again, it's going there and getting a result. If we can go get a result, I'll be all in again. But until then, I'm still a little hesitant to have too much hope.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've won 1 out of 8. So okay, even though the table is the way the table is, and we've got the points and everything's within in touching distance as us, kicking on and moving up. I think it's right to be, you've got to be cautious. We can't get carried away. It sounds like the players themselves, that Rice quote, aren't going to get carried away. Beating Chelsea away, and a good Chelsea side as well, a much better Chelsea side than people thought. He's going to boil them up, but it sounds like they're going to try and keep it in balance, because, like Rice has said, it's all very well and going and beating Chelsea. What a great result! Excellent bragging rights at work on a Monday morning. But then if we go to Wolves and we lose, we lose 3-0. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like,
we're back at it.
Yeah, but we're back at it. I don't want to say what's the point, because I'd rather beat Chelsea than beat Wolves, obviously. But it's just that we just got to be a little bit consistent. Players have just got to be a little consistent. And I think team selection Pellegrini's got to be a bit consistent now. I wouldn't change anything for that Wolves game. If everybody's fit and everyone can play, especially the likes of Antonio, who had an excellent game, was busy. The energy created up front was superb. If he can stay fit, I wouldn't change it at all. I wouldn't be interested in bringing bringing Diop back in at the minute. I wouldn't be interested in in bringing Yarmolenko back in at the minute. Let's just we've won a game. Let's just keep it.
Yeah.
So I hope he doesn't make any changes unless he's forced to. But
yeah. But we got John Nolan commenting, and he said that one of the things that gives him the most encouragement is the actual change in approach from Pellegrini, the ability to be a little tactically flexible. And of course, that was a bright spot as well. I think it invigorated the team a little bit, especially the keeper situation, as we talked about. I agree that Antonio should stay out top. I thought he had a great match. But I think Diop should come back in the team. I know he hasn't had a great year. He's had a good year in my opinion, and in my opinion, he hasn't done anything to lose his spot to Valbuena.
It's not been a disaster, no.
Yeah, but if he does keep the same team, how can you balk at that? That's a winning team who just beat Chelsea at the Bridge. Yeah. So let's talk about Pellegrini though and his job security. Okay. Obviously, the seat got a little less hot, for sure. And he has for sure bought himself at least a few more games. But I think it's this article's headline, David Martin's West Ham fairy tale saves Manuel Pellegrini for now.
Yeah.
And those last two words are key. I think there are still people out there that think Pellegrini should still be gone. Maybe they're just sticking with their guns, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it is true in that we're not out of the woods yet. Another stretch of 5 or 6 games without a loss, and he will be gone. What is your take on that? Do you agree?
I mean, yeah. Look, it's a results-based business, isn't it? So I think if we were to say lose the next 3. Then he's back in it. I mean, we said last week that it would be. We've got this we identified those 4 games of Chelsea, Wolves, Arsenal, and Southampton as being the games where he really had to start to turn things around. So, yeah, I mean, it's no good us. Yes, it's great to beat Chelsea, of course it is, but it's no good us doing that and then, like we said, and then falling apart again.
Right.
I mean, it was interesting. The BBC had reported about him. This was a post-match comment from Pellegrini where he says, it was very important win because we've had results that are not expected or deserved. You must be solid and consistent. That was the major change that we did compared with other games and allowed us to keep a clean sheet and beat a team like Chelsea, who are very good at the moment. I mean, he's identified there himself. If he's going to keep his job and if we're going to be any good, we've got to be solid and we've got to be consistent. Solid at the back. Not giving away any silly goals and sloppy goals because sometimes our play at the back has been a bit daft.
Yeah.
It's taking our chances going forward. So I think he's an experienced manager. He knows what to do. He knows what's expected of him. I mean, again, I think long term. I don't think this is going to work out for us the way perhaps we thought it was going to be. I think he came in. We spent a lot of money, and people thought there were predictions on American Hammers TV about well we could finish 6th and this that, and the other. That's clearly not going to happen. I don't know. A part of me feels again it's like we said last week. If he goes, who comes in? It's going to cost us an arm and a leg to get Benitez in. Do we really want Sean Dyche? Not for me. Could we get Eddie Howe? Probably not mid-season. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to. But this thing, I don't want to write the season off now on December the 4th or whatever, saying, "Oh well, that's it. Let's just mediocrity again."
Yeah, and people don't realize that we're in a better situation in terms of points this season at this point compared to last, which is and there was a stat that because I watched the game at home this past week and I was a bit under the weather, so I was able to listen to the commentators, which is actually a bit nice because at the pub you sort of don't hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
And he said that even before the Chelsea victory, it was West Ham's best point total through 13 games since the Boleyn season.
Yeah.
So
which is madness, isn't it?
I'm not writing. Yeah, it is madness, and it seems like it's the end of the world. And I get it; it's recency bias. It's a results based business. What have you done for me lately? But facts are facts, and again, we still need to build on this Chelsea momentum.
Yeah.
The thing that I really liked about Pellegrini was, I think there are two things. One, he's a lot more animated on the sideline, on the touchline. A lot more animated. You could. I think for the first time, you realized, oh shit, like this is getting bad.
Yeah.
But then in a game like this, where I don't think he would have been sacked, but unless we lost like 4 or 5-0,
right.
But it was coming down to the wire, and the players played for him. They played well. They played focused. They played with passion and effort. I think that also says a lot. That says, hey, the players want this manager here. I think the players realize he is a world-class manager.
Yeah.
And I do have confidence that we're going to spur on. Yeah, are we going to get top 6? No, I didn't predict top 6 to be honest. But if we can maybe get a few more points than last season and get to 8th, that's where I think we can then build off that and maybe shoot for top 7, top 6 next year. But overall, I really love the fact that the players played for him.
Yeah, and I think, and you're right. I think that carries a lot of weight. I think it's just one of those things when it comes to us on the table and where we almost where we see ourselves. Because I think if you look, if you just look at the teams above us right now, right as it stands, so you got Bournemouth above us. I would argue we should be above them. Man United, okay, well Man United, up and down like a yo-yo. But then you got Palace, we should be above them. Arsenal, as it stands, we should be above them. Burnley, we should be above them. Do you know what I mean? Just these clubs. And it's nothing to do with the way they're playing at the minute, because you've got Sheffield United there and Wolves there who are playing decent football. We spoke about Chris Wilder last week and the job he's doing at Sheffield United. And you spoke to your man there from the New York Wolves group yesterday on Fixture Focus about what's happening with them. So, those are two clubs that are kicking on. And I think that's probably the most annoying thing, is that we've bought in Pellegrini, we've spent all this money, and yet there we are in the table. And I know there's only a few points between it, but you look at what Sheffield United are doing and Wolves are doing, Burnley are doing this season. Do you know what I mean? And Bournemouth, those are the teams we should be above. I think that's the thing when people see us finishing 7th or 8th, it's because we're not going to finish above Liverpool or City or Spurs or Chelsea, or do you know what I mean? But we should be finishing above, Wolves, Sheffield United, Burnley, Bournemouth. Do you know what I mean? No, that's no disrespect to them, but really, as a West Ham fan, the size of our club, the stadium we've got, the money we've spent, the manager we've spent, we should be kicking on here. That's my only kind of concern long term, is that is there any real signs of progress when we moved to the stadium? It's supposed to be the next level. We're still at this point not on the next level. I know that's a different argument and a bigger picture, but I don't know. But I think back to your point, you're right. I think if the players will play for him, they must know he's a good manager. They must, I think, as well. When these rumours go around in the press or on Twitter or social media, whatever, if we're talking about it, they're talking about it, right? It's just like at your work. If your boss is underperforming or something happens at your work, all the people in the office or all the people in the staff room, break room, are standing around talking about it. It's the same. It's the same at the club. So the likes of Noble and Snodgrass and the leaders in that squad must be talking about it, and they must have the same concerns we've got. Okay, he goes. Who comes in? Do you know what I mean? So, like it sounds like from that Talksport article earlier that maybe it's up to that it's up to the likes of Noble to get the team going and get the team charged up and amped up, because again, I don't want to repeat the point, but that's what we need is that desire and determination and a bit of that fire in the belly type stuff. So if we can, there is Mr. West Ham, and if we can do that, we'll be all right, and then we will kick on up the table. It's just these lackluster performances. That's what's going to kill us. Not the lack of talent. It's the lackluster performances, and a lack of fire.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a very concerning stretch leading up to the Chelsea match. We expected to see some progress, and there obviously still is time, and this win did give me hope that it's possible.
Yeah.
Because it would have been such a shame to sack Pellegrini, and where do you go from there? I mean, David Moyes. I mean, that's literally taking a step backward, like literally,
Massive.
because you are literally going back to the manager that you
People wouldn't accept
sacked.
that. People wouldn't accept that.
No
People
way.
wouldn't accept that. I mean, people don't accept this. People definitely would, definitely wouldn't accept that. So, yeah, listen, we said last week he's got to make changes to the team. He's got to show some flexibility. He made those changes. He showed some flexibility. To be honest, at the start, I thought dropping Allaire was a mistake, and I thought starting Cresswell was a mistake. I would have started Masuaku. I would have stuck with Allaire. So it just goes to show how little, little I know tactically or this and that, because he's got that. He got to me. He got that bang on. He got that bang on. I thought across the pitch I thought Rice was excellent. I thought Ogbonna had a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Like it said in that Guardian article, Martin just did the basics. It was fine. Antonio was busy up front. I thought, Snodgrass and Fornals and Anderson, were pacey and caused Chelsea problems and tried to keep them on the back foot. Yeah, they had their chances, but we said last week, he's got to make changes. He's got to change things. Now he's done it. You can't criticize him. You can't knock him. So, as long as he continues to show that he's willing to adapt and he's willing to, do you know what I mean? Drop players that are out form, or if it's not working, let's make a change. What else can you do? Is the players are there. We're not bringing anyone else in at the minute. Come the January window, okay, we might try and get another keeper in, but the board aren't going to spend any money.
Yeah,
I really don't think there was talk of that. Some young striker coming in from the Greek league. I saw today. We're not going to spend any big money. They spent the money. The players are there. The squad is there, and everybody knows it. There's no real weakness in that starting 11 if everybody's fit. It's just can we adapt and can we change? He made those changes and we got results. So let's just see. Let's just see if he can keep doing the same thing. So all doom and gloom last week. This week, a little flicker of hope. Maybe we will get something tomorrow. Yeah.
I definitely hope so. Let's move on to the last story. So you're more familiar with the background of this story, Matt. So why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the other thing that's been, our show on a Tuesday is Claret and News. So we're looking at what's being reported in the papers, in the press, and obviously the big thing, apart from the win at Chelsea and the 3 points, is the issue of some of the chanting during the game by West Ham fans. I think if you'd have looked on Twitter, and after the game, I think some Chelsea fans in particular pointed out that the song about Rent Boys was homophobic. I think it's a difficult one. This one, because I think you and I aren't experts on the matter, and we wouldn't dare say, oh, what isn't considered homophobic, what isn't, except when it comes to chants. That article there, again from the Guardian, Paul McKennis, is an interesting one. If you scroll down under the page, so 1, 2, 3, the fourth paragraph. This is from a statement from Kick It Out, which is the organisation back in the UK, which is charged with making football open and to everybody, regardless of their gender or race or sexuality. So this is a statement from Kick It Out. It says, "We've received numerous reports of homophobic chanting directed at Chelsea fans during the match against West Ham. We've informed the FA and reiterate our message. The Rent Boy chant is homophobic and must be treated as such." Then it goes on. The FA confirmed it had received the complaints. The FA is aware of the reported chanting, said a spokesperson. The FA is in regular ongoing discussions with the police, Kick It Out, and other relevant stakeholders in relation to the chant in question. As I understand it, this whole Rent Boy moniker, derogatory moniker, that came up a couple of years ago on an interview on one of the Liverpool supporters channels. When someone made the comment there, it's kind of caught on, for want of a better phrase, and then.
So it started a few years ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're definitely not the first club for this to be directed at Chelsea. I think this is something that's come up from Liverpool fans in particular about Chelsea fans in the past. I mean, we had a conversation before we came on. You were unsure what the phrase "rent boy"
No
was.
idea. Yeah.
Right. It's not a phrase. It's not a turn of phrase you hear over here in the US. So it's difficult, so we're not the first people to do it. Obviously, that's no defense. I think the big thing is that, when you've got one person or two people making this sort of comment on a fan supporters site, that's one thing. When it's, hundreds of people or thousands of people in the away section at Chelsea, that's a different kettle of fish. This is a bit like the whole use of the Y word at Spurs, with away fans.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's a difficult one for me because it's not something that I'm, when it comes to that, is it homophobic abuse or isn't it? Is it, some of the comments on social media were how it's just, for one, and I hate the word banter, but for, it's just a bit of back and forth between fans. They call us pikeys, they call us this, that, and the other. This is what we call them. But the kick it out, which is the body of who kind of regulates these things in the game and is trying to bring the game forward and make it open, accessible to all, said that this is unacceptable. So I guess, if they're the authority on this sort of thing, that's how it should be. That's how we should treat it, as unacceptable. It's interesting that afterwards it says when the club, so West Ham have made a statement. It was on the West Ham website and it's also in this article here. Where the club aren't really making specific reference to the allegations or to what's happened or to the chant itself. It just says West Ham in no way condones any behaviour that falls short of the high standards which the club sets when it comes to equality. At the London Stadium against Arsenal on Monday, we will be celebrating and demonstrating the great work the club does to create welcoming and inclusive environment for all supporters, including our LGBT plus fan base, as part of our ongoing and unwavering support for the Rainbow Laces campaign. The Rainbow Laces campaign is a campaign to raise awareness about the fact that football should be open to everybody, regardless of their gender or sexual orientation. So yeah, it's funny again. Typical West Ham. This, we've got a great result, 3 points, and now the other side of that coin is that we're being kind of dragged into this thing about us as a club and our supporters.
What did you think about? Because I was on Twitter. It seemed like a lot of the English West Ham fans that I follow, like, I'm not going to name names, but right, some of them that I follow over there seemed to, I'm not speaking for everyone, but a majority definitely had an issue with getting called out for it. What do you thoughts on that?
I mean, I think, do you know what? I think, being frank, I think I almost understand that. I think it's one of those things where, like, it's that old adage, well, I don't find it offensive, so why would you find it offensive? Do you know what I mean? Just because I'm singing that at a football ground doesn't mean I actually think this about, gay people, or I think this about a certain section of society. I'm not homophobic just because I sing that and just because I chant that. I do sort of understand that as a mentality. Now, right, whether you think that's rightly or wrongly, I think, hands up. I do sort of understand that because, they in their minds, what they're trying to do is separate. I might sing it as a joke or as a bit of, again, banter at football, but I would never say anything to someone individually, or I'd never treat somebody differently, etc., etc. Again, it's that sort of thing where if people in the LGBT community feel that it's offensive, then, to be honest, it's offensive. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter how you necessarily feel about it. That's it. I mean, Pride of Irons, who are West Ham's LGBT
they called it out as well.
Yeah, and do you know what, they've done some fantastic work. So big shout out to them. They've done some fantastic work to help move the club forward and move the club in the right direction. They've called it out as well. So I think it's one of those things where it's not up for to be honest. Then it's not up for debate, is it? It's not. I can understand that people might say it was only a joke and it was only this, that, and the other. But you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where you can't do it. You can't do it. So it's a shame that two things. One, it's a shame that again the press is the press, and we've now got to sit and talk about this instead of concentrating on the David Martin story and etc. and the win. But I think a bigger shame would be if you've got people in the crowd there in the away end or that come to West Ham week in, week out, who would feel unsettled by that, or who it would put them off coming to West Ham, or because of their own life and who they are as a person. Now, you wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want to exclude anybody. So I think that's the biggest thing to bear in mind. Tricky one.
I agree. I mean, I think, I think it's we play Chelsea twice a year.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, that's 180 minutes. 180 minutes of doing it versus not doing it personally doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me. Plus, I think more towards your point, if you're not gay, then I'm not really quite sure if it's your place to say if it's offensive or not, right?
Right.
And if these organizations are saying that it is offensive, and it is, homophobic, then just don't say it. I mean, just don't. If you're really only saying it as a joke, find another joke. If you're that funny.
Right, and there are plenty of jokes about Chelsea. There are plenty of jokes about Chelsea.
Right.
I mean, to be honest, I mean the chant I would have wanted to hear was the
blue flag one.
The blue flag one. I'm a big fan of against Chelsea. The big fat Frank one. I'm a big fan of against Chelsea. So there's plenty of other ways to, and I understand it. It's a wind up. I've been to football, West Ham home and away, and I understand how it works. Because I might necessarily recognise that or feel that that's offensive doesn't mean it isn't. It doesn't mean it's not offensive, right? I think it's just about, and you're not going to change. Some people think it's a bit much that I don't think anyone's necessarily branding the club as being homophobic or branding supporters as being homophobic, but I think it's just one of those things where this incident has happened, and it should be, and you kick it out, and the FA and Pride of Irons and the Chelsea LGBT group as well have made it perfectly clear it's unacceptable. So, like I said, the big thing is I would never want anyone to go to a game as a West Ham fan wearing the same colours and feel put out of place or not feel welcome. That's not okay. That's not who we are as a club. So, I think the club will address it, learn from it. It sounds like they're going to be supporting the Rainbow Laces campaign on Monday, which is an excellent campaign. And no more ugliness in the stands, really. I think football is a reflection of society. It's just it's happened and it shouldn't have happened. And the club have got to make sure they deal with it and take it seriously. I think if it happens again, or if you were an individual at a game of football and you were to say, a homophobic slur or anything like that, or racial slur, then out you go, out the ground, and a ban. I think that it's just about how would a club handle it and how they handle it on Monday. I think if anybody who's watching thinks, oh well, I don't find it offensive, like I said, don't you wouldn't want to make people feel unwelcome. That's not really a club. I think that's why, especially if you are a member of a supporters group around even the US here, the big thing about getting together in New York or Boston or Fresno or Dallas or Chicago or Columbus or wherever you are, Detroit, is that sense of community and a sense of getting together to watch football. That's what's important, and that's what we want to make sure we're doing.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Before we,
that's a bit serious, wasn't it?
I mean, I think it needed to be.
hard hitting you.
Be addressed, and
Yeah,
hopefully
no, of course.
last time. Well, hopefully this is the last time we talk about it, because if so, that
Yeah,
means that we've moved on and that we've stopped. And there you go.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it will be. Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, and that's the point. That's why we wanted to do this as a show on a Tuesday. We wanted to cover all of the press, all of what's being talked about, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So a bit of the ugly this week, but plenty of good as well with the win.
absolutely. Before we wrap up, do you have predictions for tomorrow?
Totally different from from this time last week when I thought, oh well, this will be it. He'll have 4 games, and I can't see us getting anything out of it. I thought we'd lose against Chelsea, and I thought we'd lose against Wolves. I think if he leaves the team unchanged, I think there's definitely room for us to have a go at them and have a pop. I think if you look at their their form guide, you've got it up there.
Yeah, they haven't lost in a while.
Haven't lost in a while, but plenty of draws.
Yeah, they have 8 draws, which is they're the first team to have 8 draws.
Right, a lot of draws.
Yeah.
So, and they're not going out and putting 4 past people, 5 past people. You look there, it's all
1-1.
2-1, 1-1, lot of 1-1s.
Big win here.
Yeah, so they're obviously a well organised side. They've got some players going forwards. It's away. I think you based on that. Well, the form guide would tell us to expect a draw, to expect a 1-1 draw. So, but you know what? I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to go classic 2-1. I go 2-1 West Ham. Build on what we've done at the weekend. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I discussed this at the Fixture Focus show yesterday. I do think we'll get a result. I don't think it'll be a win. I think it'll be a free-flowing, exciting game. I'm picking 2-2.
Okay, 2-2. So 2-2 for a draw. So we'll see how we go. We should start keeping a record of this and see who gets.
Yeah, we should.
Okay,
so go back on our predictor league.
Yeah, which is a great laugh actually. The old predictor, much better than regular fantasy.
Yeah.
Okay, well I'll go optimistic. You'll go with the form guide.
And
we'll see where we land. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, Matt. As always, it's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, lovely talking to you. If everyone's out there, thanks for watching. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe.
Yes.
And then
almost at 1,000.
Almost at 1,000. So close. Who's number 1,000? It could be you. It won't be you because you're subscribed. It could be somebody else. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Let's see what happens. See what happens tomorrow, and then we'll obviously got Arsenal after that. So.
Yep.
You never know. You never know with West Ham.
Never know.
Yeah.
All right, man. All right. Have a good night.
Make it easy. All right. Come on, you irons. Keep the faith.